listeners.
Chatty Chappies.
Here we are again.
Chatty Chappies.
Chatty Chappies.
Chatty Chappies.
Chatty Chappies.
Brian and Andrew on
Chatty Chappies.
Chatty Chappies.
Thank you for turning on Chatty Chappies. Andy and Brian are recent friends who are discovering similar interests and just like chatting about all kinds of things from music to vehicles, spirituality to writing, but seldom football. No, never soccer. I mean, never football.
Chatty Chappies.
You are listening to Andrew and Brian on Chatty Chappies.
Hello. Hi. Have you heard about the driverless bus?
The driverless bus.
The driverless bus, the autonomous vehicle.
Okay, now, is that the thing that was on the news, on the newspaper? In fact, I think it was on STV back in September.
Right.
And I do know there was something in the paper at the beginning of the month that they were doing a trial.
Yes. Aye. I was taking a walk round and there was this sort of funny looking. It actually reminded me of a car we had in the 1960s called a Fiat Multipla.
Oh yes.
Okay. which was basically a people carrier version of a Fiat 500.
Yeah.
Of that era.
Yeah, I can picture it. The design of it, or the shape of it, made it look like it was actually bigger than it was.
It was, and you wouldn't have known whether it was coming or going.
Yeah.
Like the electric bus.
Yeah.
Now...
It also looks a bit like a stretched Volkswagen camper van.
It does, yes, yeah.
Or blown up, not stretched, but blown up, yeah.
Yeah. But...
So my understanding was...
It's gone missing.
Oh, it's gone missing, yes. I heard that. It's gone missing. So, here we have then a bus with no driver that's being running on a fixed route from the university campus to the retail park.
Yeah.
So the round trip's about 2 miles.
It's something like that,
Yeah.
aye. And it moves relatively slowly.
Right.
A little bit faster than walking pace.
So there would be no traffic lights. There might be the odd roundabout, a few junctions, and
I don't know where it goes. I've seen it in the university grounds.
yes,
I don't know when it goes off over the railway bridge and enters the business park and then the retail park. Does it go to the bus stop at Tesco's? Or
well,
does
I was thinking yes, it would do the bus route because there is a separate route purely for buses and cyclists.
Yeah.
And that would be as the crow flies, the shortest distance sort of thing, and that would take them right into the retail park.
Yeah.
But it's strange that it's gone missing. Now, a bit difficult to lift and put in your pocket.
It's not something that you could just cart away.
No. Now, what's the other options? Could it have driven onto the back of a lorry?
It could have driven onto the back of the lorry. It could be stuck in one of the many little side turnings in the business park, the retail park. Has anybody looked round the back of? Has anybody looked round the back of Pets at Home or something?
Maybe it got lonely. It's hiding behind one of these grass verges.
Yeah.
There's quite a few grass verges at the campus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm just thinking here. You've got driverless buses, and interesting that
A bit like Stagecoach.
a bit like Stagecoach, they've got driverless buses or buses without drivers.
Aye.
Yeah. So maybe Stagecoach would like to invest a bit more in driverless buses because they can't get drivers.
Yeah, it would be a great thing. Yeah.
So,
You know.
So,
Yeah.
if anybody's interested, they'll be able to see the picture of the bus because it's up on Chatty Chappies on the Facebook page already.
Yeah.
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 And if anybody's seen it since the
It went missing.
it went missing, that would be great to know. Here we are in mid-October.
Like, who owns it? Whose bus is it? Is it something to do with the University of the Highlands and Islands?
And
Is it to do with Stagecoach? Is it a completely different company?
it's got a special logo branding of little yellow and blue circles on the bus, and I think it's Stagecoach.
Okay, so right.
But there's still an element of funding as it's an experimental thing. Yeah.
Right.
In fact, you could say it's a pilot.
Yeah, it's a pilot scheme.
So-
or pilotless.
A pilotless
Now, I
bus.
was going to ask you, have you ever been on a driverless vehicle, an autonomous vehicle? You know, when you were in the south of England, in London, were you ever on the Docklands light
That's
railway?
the
Is it
Docklands.
the
That's the one.
Docklands?
The Docklands. Yes, I think I was on that. Yes, and I went out to the east. I can't remember where I went to, and what I can't even think of the reason why I was out there. Yeah, but yes, I have. And have you been?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
The closest I would have come to it would
Yeah.
probably be on a plane with, you know,
Autopilot.
autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the plane can land itself nowadays.
Yeah.
But that would be the closest to anything. I've never been in a vehicle like this bus or the Docklands Light Railway where there is
Yeah.
no
Oh, right.
driver or person in charge.
Yeah.
Would you feel comfortable?
It's easy to say you would be, but then not until you're actually there.
In a bus,
In the bus,
it's moving
yeah.
along. There's no driver. There's no conductor.
Yeah. In the pilot with the bus
well,
we're talking about,
there
there is somebody
but,
in there.
but the idea, or the Docklands Light Railway,
Yeah.
which of course is on rails, so it can't
Yeah, that's
go
probably a
anywhere
bit easier.
else.
Yeah.
But knowing that you're just sitting there
Yeah.
and it's happening by itself.
Yeah. Interesting story anyway, and it'd be interesting to find out what the actual latest is on the bus. I hope that's helpful to Peter. Peter was asking, Peter from Edinburgh.
From Edinburgh,
Yeah.
was the wee bus.
So there's your answer, Peter, to the picture
Yeah.
on Chatty Chappies. That's a good chance for us to do some name dropping, isn't
Name
it?
dropping.
So shout outs. Shout outs. Let's see now. Margot MacDonald, I think you were one of the early Chatty Chappies. Hope you're doing okay, Margot.
Yeah, and then we've got Elise Bowie who's from Inverness. She's down in Edinburgh at Napier University doing nursing.
Hi there.
Yeah, so we wish her all the best.
Yeah, and Eileen over in Aberdeen, she's got a PhD in Robert Pinkerton.
All right, okay, righty-ho.
Yeah.
Aye.
Who else we got? John Mackay. Hi, John. David Barry. Oh, there's two David Barrys. There's David Barry USA and David Barry Pitlochry.
Right.
Right, a few more. Who else? George. Good to see you, George. What? Sometimes when you're back up in the north. And David Buchanan. Hi, David. Hope
Lots of
things are doing
Davids.
okay. Lovely guitar playing a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Across at Barberville.
Yeah.
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 Who else have we got? Jane Donahue. I haven't forgotten about you. Gary's still talking about you. How's life in the States? Right, is that enough for tonight? That's quite a few
Okay,
names, isn't it?
we can come back to
We could-
shout-outs, yes.
We could come back to that.
Yeah. So, now then,
Tonight's topic.
tonight's topic,
What we're going to go for?
charity status.
Charity status, right? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about this because
This
it's
sounds.
something that's coming up I've heard about, which, because I'm a bear of very little brain, I need it explained to me.
And you're asking me.
And I'm asking you, because I think you know,
IO?
SCIO. I was trying not to make it sound like YMCA
Yeah.
and lapse into song.
So what's your question? What is it?
What's it all about?
What's it all about? Right. Okay.
Have you got enough time in?
Right, so we've got a few minutes and we'll just make it as brief as we can and not to confuse people even more. Right, okay, so at the moment in Scotland or in England, if you want to be a charity with limited liability, you register with Companies House,
Mm-hmm.
and you also have to be registered with the Charities Commission in England or Oscar in Dundee. OSCR, letter standing
Yeah.
for the person that looks after charities.
Yeah.
Okay, so people are saying, well, that's a lot of work. Can we not just have one entity that covers charitable and has limited liability and just register in one place, as in Charities Commission or in Scotland with Oscar and Dundee? So, back in the 2000s, there were papers written and some bright boffins came up with this CIO, which is a charity with limited liability. So, do we briefly talk about limited liability?
Okay. Well, I understand it from
Okay.
my childhood days when
Right.
my family had a limited company.
Yeah.
And so I understand it from
From that
that
point of
point of view.
So that is exactly what it's about. So, as long as the people who are in charge of the charity behave themselves and are not fraudulent, etc., then they will be restricted in the liability if the charity goes belly up.
Right.
Um,
Which at the moment they might not be.
Right, well, it depends how the organisation, whatever the organisation is and when it's been set up. There are several types of charitable organisations. So, for instance, the gun club at West Hill
Yeah.
is an association. So they have people who are running the organisation. There'll be the treasurer, the chairman, the secretary. They'll be the office bearers. So they would have a liability for that organisation. So what people were looking for is to restrict the liability of the office bearers by having this limited company.
In the same way as our limited company in the past, the directors,
That's correct.
it was the company.
Yeah. So you could actually have, I'm trying to think of examples, but well, some examples would be churches.
Right.
So if I can go back a step, you have a limited company is an entity.
Yeah.
So by law, it is a person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a club or a church, normally, on the old system, if you want to call it, they haven't got a person. So the liability is not to the organisation as such, it's to the members or the office bearers. So, and that's why they want to have limited liability to reduce that risk. So the CIO, which is the equivalent in England, and the SCIO in Scotland, is a good vehicle to have to limit the liability for the trustees. And from that, what was the other thing I was thinking about? Just going to say.
You see, going back
Yeah.
20 years ago,
Right.
at the year 2000, I was a deacon of our church,
Yeah.
but nobody ever said to me, if it all goes pear-shaped,
Yep.
you're going to be liable
Yeah.
for the debts of the church.
Yeah.
I never realised that.
I never realised that perhaps was not even mentioned to you. Perhaps even the office bearers and trustees didn't know either.
Right.
And that's
That
why.
that 5 or 6 people
Yep.
might end up being in debt to a huge sum of money.
Yes, in fact, I think by law, the person who is going against the organisation because of maybe unpaid bills could actually go for the full amount to one trustee. So it's not a shared liability. It's until the liability has been met.
Mm.
But we're getting maybe
Right.
too
Okay.
too technical
Yeah.
there. So the purpose of it was to try and make that better. The other thing is, with an SCIO, a new organisation that's charitable has to meet the criteria of being a charity, whether it's Charities Commission or Oscar in Scotland. Now, they're not exactly the same organisations, and they're looking for slightly different things, but the general essence is the same. So if you want to be charitable, you have to meet certain things. Now, being charitable from the charity's point of view, the main thing is they want to get the gift aid. So that's the tax back from people who are taxpayers, and that's additional income for the charity.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I understand that side of it from the financial benefit.
But it does mean to be a registered charity, you have to, your founding document needs to meet the requirements of OSCAR or Charities Commission. I think we'll just keep talking about OSCAR because we're not in England. So the founding document is what they call the Constitution, and that is a document that says this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and if things go bad, this is what we want done with any assets left over once all the debts have been paid. That's primarily what a constitution is. But OSCAR is looking to make sure that within that document that lots of other little issues are covered as well, so it's quite clear. And in the past, the people who wrote the constitutions were the people who were in the organisation, and it was just written as best they could, and if they were lucky they maybe had a lawyer that would look over it. And in fact, what used to happen is in organisations is if there had been problems in the past, when they wrote the constitution the next time, they would make it wind and watertight for that circumstance, which would probably never happen again. Anyway, so going back to the original question, an SCIO is a limited company primarily for charitable purposes. That's it.
Okay. One last question, just before we go. How does that differ from a company limited by guarantee, which a lot of charities seem to call themselves?
Right. So it's virtually the same.
Right.
If you think in terms of the reporting of it, you would a charity with limited by guarantee would register with the Companies House and with the charitable organisation, OSCAR in this case. And what the SCIO is doing is pulling these two things together, so you have your limited liability and you get the charitable aspect as well. Now you can go from being a charity limited company to an SCIO as part of a process, but you can't go back.
Right. Okay.
So that's how it works.
Because I think a lot of care organisations or care homes and such like are very often companies limited by guarantee.
Yes. Whether they're charitable or not, they could well be that. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of merit in doing that. It gives them some safety. Yeah. So how's that then?
Okay. So yeah,
That covers that.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So and then under this new, trustees wouldn't have the same open liability to get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
You wouldn't end up losing your own house and property to pay off the organisations.
Yeah.
Yes, which, you know.
There we go. That was techie stuff, wasn't it?
Techie. Yeah.
And the next one, well, let's not. We'll just stop here, will we?
Will we? Yes.
Yeah. We don't want to tell them what's coming next.
No.
Because they might not want to hear
they
it.
might not want to hear it. They might think, geez, if they're going to book right on like that.
Have we got time for a coffee?
Oh, I think we'll have a coffee.
Okay.
Yes. Aye.
Right. I'll go and put the kettle on.
Okie doke. That's a good idea.
You were listening to another program of Chatty Chappies.